So I might make these live appearances just to speak for no other reason than I have a love-hate relationship with the sound of my voice. But more importantly, like everyone, I have a love-hate relationship with hearing myself speak. And that's interesting. If other people have an interest, then that's fine. I'll keep them to a short length, the length of a single interpretation, more or less. You can't judge what that is, but it's a block of thought nonetheless. So in this case, I'm not going to read from it anything, but I have some notes. I do think notes are helpful sometimes. It would be better if you didn't have to use them. But I don't trust people who read papers. So this has a couple of conditions. It's an ordinary life thing, but it concerns the nature of institutions such as business and money, and if you want to extend that, property and marriage and a lot of other things. But it's on the tongues of people, so let's use Trump's perverse, unconscious desire for law and order, and let's say law and order. He's talking about institutions. That's what conservatives are talking about. So that's one, the nature of institutions. Two, value is not money. That's related to blockchain and what I think is how we are in a so-called paradigm shift. And three, the bomb. Another example of a paradigm shift. But it happens at a weed store, which I find funny because I don't do drugs, but I'm not against them either. So sometimes I do them. It's my birthday, and I thought, that's interesting. It's legal in California, where I'm from, and I should go check that out. And sure enough, I did not need a fake prescription to go wait in line, which is interesting, right? Interesting. If the place was fucking packed, just because it's legal, but you already didn't need to do work, right? To get a prescription. That's the interesting thing about so-called prescriptions. And it's the same thing as when you lie to your doctor about having ADD or whatever you do to get speed. And it works. Speed helps you write faster. Go for it. By the way, you can call it Adderall if you want. So value and it not being money. This happened by there being a very charming, lovely, cute lady who happens actually, by the way, to be 40, even though she looked about 23. Anyway, naturally, actually, this is unnaturally, or naturally, as you like to see it, we get into a conversation, which is funny. She should be doing her job, but she gets a little bit of leeway because she's at a weed shop. And it's funny, she is doing her job. People are just, because it's become a business, people interact as if it's like Best Buy. There's a guy over there saying, I want to return my weed, and it needs to be segmented into 3 receipts, probably so I can get a fucking tax return. I don't know. And that's the thing. People care about money. But it's weird, right? Because money doesn't mean anything. Its value is next to nothing. It can't buy you anything. But people attach value to it, which is why value is different, of course, than terms like a thing like money, or a term like a concept of a currency. So I'll get to that. Anyway, the situation in the weed room. I don't do drugs. I do addiction, yes, but I don't do drugs. But sometimes I'm not against them. It's interesting. I mean, I suppose I already said that. It's interesting that it's the popularity that legalization would make popularity. It makes sense in a way, or it's kind of a duh thing, but it's also interesting. Why is that? Which gets to the second thing I wanted to address, philosophy. This lovely lady was from the South, and she goes, "Oh, you're a philosopher? I love this existentialism." And it was amazing. This was amazing. And it reminded me about why philosophy is important. Philosophy is a reminder. It's a reminder mechanism, a tool. Good philosophy, not academic crap. Good philosophy is a reminder for the questions you already asked yourself as a child, the questions that everyone asks. Philosophy reminds you of them. Psychoanalysis is an applied philosophy to conscious and unconscious mental mechanisms and the physical body, and how they interplay with each other. So she brings up that existentialism might be because of the nuclear bomb. You could say she's smoking too much weed, or you could realize how that's, yeah, okay, you can learn about that in philosophy class, sure. And it makes sense, but it's really fucking important, right? The nuclear bomb was a technology that allowed mass slaughter, that allows the questioning, the fundamental questioning of why you are here. How she connected to it, she said, isn't that what existentialism is all about? The A-bomb. It is. That was a paradigm shift, and existentialism went with it, because existentialism asks these, and again, good philosophy, right? Baby questions. Who am I? What am I? What am I doing here? And it's, again, the importance of philosophy as a reminding mechanism, as a reminder tool, because couples, you would think through the entirety of civilization that people, see that slip? I just mentioned couples, that people would talk about new things. But no, really people complain about the same thing over and over in different forms. But some things do change. That is why science affects what Lacan called the real, one aspect of the real. It's a horrible French term, the real. Can't say it. I'm glad I can't. Because when the physical world meets the symbolic world of language and concepts, institutions such as countries, states, nations, that's why they're important for conservatives, fuckers, let them be. Seriously. You don't realize that you rely on these institutions. They're not just, yes, they are structures, but metaphors are just as real as the physical world. The real, get it? It is a double meaning. Lacan thinks it's cute. So anyway, that's interesting. It's interesting to walk into the weed shop and to get into this really cool conversation. And to be reminded of the importance of philosophy, which is funny because the importance is as a reminder tool. How does this relate to the second item? Value is not money. Because we started our conversation, I also told her that I work as an editor, which is also true. And she said, well, that must be interesting to be an editor. What do you edit? And I was telling her about my work on blockchain. But then I related it to the situation. Because I was partaking in an exchange with her. It's funny, right? It's almost a prostitution exchange, because that's how all sex is. That's why you put money in love relationships, so you signify that you're not in a relationship. And that is an example of value. Money is not important. It's what is behind that is important. Money is a powerful signifier to value, but it is value that creates meaning, and it is meaning that is important. It is not some conservative, alt-right, neo-Nazi, whatever the fuck you guys, the words you guys make for people who have opinions and tastes different than a left-wing education would bring you. Which makes sense, right? You get educated in left-wing, you get a left-wing slant. And most of education, especially in the US, is on the left. It's not the left. It has nothing to do with fucking socialism. But it's the left, nonetheless. Blockchain follows after the internet, related to a broad shift, a paradigm shift. One way of talking about this is as relativism, a spectrum, to use psychological, psychiatric discourse. And by the way, this is why both traditionalists and modernists, postmodernists, are same thing, are correct. They're both correct. Tradition is important for a reason, and it changes. So I pointed out, I responded to how she started the conversation, for which I was flattered to be welcomed into. Was that I pointed out that if you follow the logic of blockchain, it will move us away from money as currency and back to concentrating on what we should be concentrating on, namely value. And of course, one possible outcome is exchange in things that people like, and crucially, this is important, that people actually have. Things that people have and that they actually like. Money is not one of them. Weed, however, is one of them. That's interesting. Thank you. Спасибо.